Welcome to Talks with Tracy, with certified hypnotherapist, life coach, and licensed mental health professional, Tracy Claremont. Tracy will share her healing journey and explore the many meaningful alternative healing methods in our world today that will support you in doing your own deepest emotional healing. So please welcome the host of Talks with Tracy, Tracy Claremont. Let the suffering end and the healing begin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talks with Tracy. I'm your host, Tracy Claremont, coming to you live on the Bold, Brave Television Network. I am so excited today to have my very first guest on the show. In a few moments, we will be talking to the beautiful Katie Howard, who is a Reiki master and intuitive healer. But first, I just want to start again by thanking all of you for joining me today, and also thanking Brave Bold Television Network for giving me this opportunity to be on this beautiful platform, spreading a message of healing. So now in my first two shows, I shared my life from the perspective of struggles and suffering and things that I've experienced, followed by my story of healing and how I came out of that and came to be here with all of you today. If you haven't watched those shows already, I encourage you to do so. I'd love that. I'd really appreciate it if you check that out. So all of this was done with the purpose and intention of showing you what it looks like to do a deep dive inward into your emotional healing, and also to show people where you start at and how it might look when you're moving through your healing. Of course, with the ultimate goal of encouraging everyone to do the same so that all of you can put an end to suffering as well. So in sharing my story, I talked about several people who were I had very meaningful experiences with, who guided me through and helped me along the way. Now, my guest today, Katie Howard, she actually had a front row seat to this whole process. I have known Katie for, over 20 years now. We first came to know each other on a personal basis where we would be at powwows together, our tribal gatherings and celebrations, and we would kind of hang out with each other, and we got to know each other that way. Our families knew each other, and then we found ourselves in the field of social work, working together off and on throughout many years. Now, during the time that I described in my first two shows, I was actually working with Katie. So she literally had a front row seat to all of this, and I appreciate all the support that she gave me. Later on, she received her training in Reiki healing, and I then went to her for healing of the energies in my body, trying to kind of get my physical self and my energy and my mental self all back on track. And she was very helpful with that. So I would love to welcome Katie Howard, Reiki Master and Intuitive Healer, to our show today. Are you there, Katie? Oh, there you are.
Hello.
Hi, so good to see you. I'm so glad you made it. Now, I just want everybody out there to appreciate the effort that Katie has put into being here today, because she has a lot going on right now. You are coming to me live from a hospital waiting room. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
And that is actually for a good reason, right? Because your daughter is about to have a baby.
Yes. Yes, she is. We are so excited.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's exciting.
Thank you for making it happen in the midst of
Absolutely.
everything that's going on. So you, in fact, have many children, right? And how many grandchildren?
So I have 6 children and I have
Mm,
3 grandchildren, and the fourth is on the way today, hopefully.
wow. Anytime soon, any moment.
Any
Well,
moment.
I actually brought a cup from home today to drink tea in, and it's really like it really fits this moment. So it says, "Ain't no hood like motherhood."
Woo, that's right.
Yeah, it's so true. My kids actually gave me that. So you're a busy mother, you're a busy grandmother. I understand you're still working in the field of social work as well.
Yep.
Is that correct? And then you do um, Reiki healing and intuitive healing as well. Can you talk to me a little bit? Tell me a little bit about how you even got into Reiki and intuitive healing?
Yeah. Okay. So all my life, I've felt different. Like I could pick
Mm,
up on people's emotions and feelings. And I thought everybody could do that. And maybe they can, but the people that I would talk to try to like, do you feel this? Do you hear that? It was always no. So from a very, very young age, I had this knowing and I could, feel things. Um, and life progressed on, and I ended up, being a mother of 6 children and going to college and grad school and starting my career. But I was always drawn
mhm,
to like work spiritual, work on my inner healing. I just never had the time to do it. I just kept putting it off and putting
mm,
it. So when COVID hit,
yeah.
that's when I actually was able to dive in deeper and meditate few times a day. And that's kind of what jump started the healing portion for me was the meditation, just starting right off with meditation.
Mm,
Um, one night I was scrolling through Facebook and I seen an ad for Reiki healing, get certified. There's 3 degrees that you have to go through. And so I contacted the woman and went to Butte and got certified. It was over a period of several months. Um, and once that happened with the Reiki, it just really opened me up to more than I ever thought was possible. I'm really thankful.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of sounds like you had a similar process to me where you were super busy with your life and you went into a field that is a helping field. And I think that's a common thing for people who have like an inner drive toward healing, but
Mhm.
haven't really focused on that and fine tuned it and really gone inward to look to see what that is. I think it's very common for those of us to be drawn to other areas of like helping professions, social work, mental
Yeah.
health work, those kind of things, and as an outlet for that. But then, you know, in my case, I was always trying to like fit into the boxes of what was kind of acceptable,
Mhm.
in society and things like that. And I would do my best to do that, and I was, successful in that. But I always had that feeling like I wasn't really doing what I was meant to be doing, or I always felt like I would should could be doing more, or
Mhm.
I also kind of felt like inside I was doing it differently than what I was taught in college to do, you
Right.
know?
Yep.
Did you ever have that kind of feeling going on inside when you were working in your degree and things like that?
Yeah, I did. Just this enormous pull and
Mm,
um it was kind of confusing because you're one way, like society wants you to be one way. And inside
mhm,
it just didn't match, like
mhm,
who I who I am. And so I really struggled with that for a long time and being able to accept that I have these healing abilities. Um, and so I just want to be able to share them with whoever needs it, whoever's heart is open enough to receive, I will give.
mhm.
So, yeah.
Right. Absolutely. It's like I like to call it my woo wooiness, right? And I'm at a place in my life where I'm just committed to being me and embracing all that woo wooiness, and it feels right, and
Yeah.
that's when you know that you're on the right path, like you're living within your purpose and whatnot. So I agree with what you're saying. It feels really good to be doing that kind of healing, and I'm so glad that you're doing that. What kind of training did you have to receive? You mentioned it, that there were some phases of Reiki training, or can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So um, the Reiki is energy healing, and there's 3 degrees that you go through to become attuned to the energy. Um, I did a fourth. The person that I went through, there was 4 stages instead of just 3. Um, and we would spend the entire day, the next day, just learning how to access that energy, healing ourselves, and then, having our Reiki master that was training us, bring in the energy, bring it down. We have,
Hmm.
lots of manuals and different things, the signs that you have to use and the symbols and all of that. So that it was two, four, maybe about 8 days total over a span of a few months. Um,
Hmm.
and the very last session was when, we were given that life energy force to help to co-heal along with whoever wanted that.
Hmm. Wow. So it sounds like a training around um, opening opening up your own abilities to share energy. Is that what happens, or um,
Yeah. Yeah, it's just definitely opening you up. During that time, I was just completely mind blown because the 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 instructors, you know, I was kind of skeptical, like, but then they started talking about like personal things about me or things that they wouldn't know. And so that really broke my mind open a little bit more. Um, just knowing that this is real and feeling that energy come in. You have to do certain things to um certain symbols and things to be, you're given these symbols and to use them and bring the energy down. And anybody can become a Reiki master. You don't even have to go through the
mm,
full Reiki master. You don't have to be a master. You can just do a couple of classes and be good. I chose to do the master and go all the way because um, I want to be able to teach other people that are interested or just have the full experience. And so um, that's what I did. And the meditations and my guides that were coming through and the messages that I was receiving really, really broke my mind. And I think that was probably the biggest obstacle that I had in accepting that I am this spiritual being and my purpose isn't just to go to work and pay my bills and raise my kids. There's a deeper meaning there. And
mm,
and Reiki, I mean, I'm just really thankful that I took that step. Like my soul was just telling me, like telling me you got to do this, you got to do this. And all these doors kept opening. So I took that as okay, the universe is literally pushing me. Like I can't betray my soul and not do what I'm really really being pulled to do. So that's what I
oh,
did. And it's
that is
been a
beautiful. I'm so
thank
glad that
you.
you followed your path and your purpose.
Yeah,
So that is
that
amazing.
I lost a lot of friends and some family and
Oh,
um, you know,
I'd love, sorry to interrupt. I'd love to hear about that, things that maybe you lost along the way. I'd love to hear more about that because that sounds like, some of your personal journey. So it looks like it's already time to take a commercial break. So when we come back, I'd love to start there with
yeah.
that, talking about that. So again, brief commercial break. You're watching Talks with Tracy. I am your host, Tracy Claremont, coming to you live on the Bold Brave Television Network with my beautiful guest, Katie Howard. So again, when we come up, or come back, we're going to be looking at some personal stories. I'm going to be asking Katie to get a little naked with us on Talks with Tracy, talking about her journey. So please join us. Thank you.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. Rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies. Find settings that allow them to be the most productive and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back to Talks with Tracy. I'm your host, Tracy Claremont, coming to you live on the Bold Brave Television Network. I am here with my very first guest, Katie Howard. I'm so thankful. She is coming to us live from a hospital where she's waiting the birth of her fourth grandchild. Thank you so much, Katie. Now, before the break, you were talking about what Reiki is, how you got into it, and in this segment, I like to do a segment called Getting Naked, and it's just kind of where I ask my guests to get a little bit vulnerable, talk about their own struggles and suffering, and maybe share how some of that healing happened. And right before we did the commercial break, you were mentioning something about how people reacted and responded to you moving into your spiritual growth and developing your practices with Reiki healing and your intuitive practices. I was wondering if we could kind of pick up where we left off from that. I'd love to hear what you were meaning by that.
Sure. So once I started this, and I didn't even know that it was a spiritual awakening. I just knew that there was something more. And even though the work that I was doing at the time, I was over in Washington working with the Tulalip tribe and their child welfare program. That's good work. We're doing good work, but my soul, I just could not ignore it. And so I came back to Montana, and from that point, it just took off into this amazing world and reality that I never thought was possible. Even my children were like, Mom, because I'm, like somebody got a flat tire, and I'm like, well, that happened for a reason. And, all this stuff. And they're like, stop, like, Mom, give it up. Okay. Like, come on. And so even
yes, I totally understand that. I get that.
Yeah. They were totally skeptical, but they watched me go through this. I mean, just waking up one day and being, fully activated my psychic abilities. There was no denying it. And a lot of my, some of my friends and my family were just like, you've gone off the deep end. Like you're just, this is too much. Like they would Um,
Yes.
just like distance themselves or not even contact me or anything like that. So that was
Oh,
going through that
wow.
awakening, where you're feeling dead inside anyways, and then to
Mm,
lose people that have been in your life for 45 years, and just kind of keep you
yeah.
at a distance is, that was hard for me, but I had to detach from that because my soul, just stepped forward. She just stepped forward and I just surrendered. And from
Oh,
that point
that's so
on,
beautiful.
thank you.
You know,
It was
that's a
really
great point. That's a great point that you make that, uh, sometimes when we are transforming ourselves, when we were going through the greatest changes and stepping into our power, one of the things that I've talked about that I had to learn was that not everybody was going to provide me the support that I needed in the way I needed it. And I had to be okay with that. And I also had to be okay with letting those people go, if they weren't going to support me in the way I needed. And that can be a painful process. And
right,
sometimes it can be surprising that people aren't supporting you, maybe people that you thought would suddenly are not. And that's a painful process, but also an important part of the transformation
right,
to push through, right? Because
right.
you're putting yourself first. I know that, with all the children and the hard work that you've done, and you've worked for foster families and done so much social work working for high risk families and with high risk families. I'm sure it was hard for you to say, no, this is me and this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do that for myself now. It's a whole new experience.
It, yeah, that was a big part of my healing journey was, taking care of myself first.
Mm.
And people didn't like that. They didn't like that I was
Huh.
drawing these boundaries and, um, because you don't have access to my energy anymore. Like you can't suck it from me anymore. I'm, you know, trying to be the best that I can. And I often ask myself when I'm doing something or approached with something, like, is this for my highest and best good? And if it's not, I
Mm.
have to, I have to release that. And it's painful every time, but it's like the
Mm.
universe just opens things up. And so I've learned that just by listening to my gut, when I'm getting a hunch or seeing things, in my third eye, just to follow that. And it's
Mm.
just this beautiful life that I've been given, gifts,
Wow.
from the creator. And
Mm.
um, I'm just so thankful. I'm so thankful for everything that I've been through in my life, even the really, really bad, hard stuff that I needed you to help me with. Um, that pushed me over the edge, of breaking my mind and having my heart ripped open would not have happened if I didn't have that session when you hypnotized me. That was my block.
Oh.
And so
Mm.
after that happened, it just took off. I mean, like spontaneous, just
Mm.
this awakening of not having any limitations with energy, like at all. And it,
Mm.
it came really, really quickly. I thought I was going crazy. And if you
Mm.
do your research and different things, with like the Kundalini awakening, they have a spontaneous awakening where you just, it's given to you, and there's psychological issues that can come up. There's just a lot of different things.
Mm.
But I stayed steadfast, and I mean, within 4 months of me being activated on my awakening, I was a full blown um, healer, psychic, and I'm currently working on my mediumship. Um,
Oh, okay. And what is that?
so that's when you're able to talk to and communicate with spirit guides, any ancestors, anybody that's passed over on the other side, that's on the other on the other side of the veil. Um,
Mm.
And so when I'm doing Reiki, or when I'm reading energy or doing card readings or whatever, a lot of times their family members will step forward. Um,
Mm.
and I'll describe what they look like, what they're saying. And it's just this beautiful thing to watch play out for the person that is looking for that closure, for whatever they're looking for. And me being
Mm.
able to describe what they're saying and their names. And, it's just, whoa, like
Wow.
I've never been like, I'm not going to tell them that, I'm going to sound crazy. I'm a vessel. So whatever is being channeled through me is what I give. I don't sugarcoat it. I don't change the
Mm.
wording. And the client knows, like, if I'm stern or if I'm gentle or whatever, they know exactly why. I don't have to explain that.
Wow. I didn't know that you were let's see, fine-tuning your mediumship skills as well. That is so exciting. One of the things that uh, was so helpful for me was working with Mary Gertson, and I don't know if you knew Mary, but she was a medium. She passed away now, but she was a medium that helped me, and she did exactly what you're describing. She connected me with my sister Roberta, who I also know that you knew very well. And she connected me, and she showed me that my sister was actually there, like right literally over my shoulder. And she told me, she kind of told me how to recognize the signs that she was there. But I love that you say the exact words that you're hearing from those relatives and whatnot, because that's really what makes it so meaningful, because you receive the message as they would have said it, and it helps people who you're working with to be like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
they are there. So that's super exciting. What is the process of developing that? Are you working with somebody to help you like you did with Reiki, or are you just doing that on your own?
Um, I'm doing it on my own. My mentor, the one that trained me in Reiki, she's
Mm.
her and the other girl, they've been there. Whenever I have questions, I reach out. But mostly it's just like when I start doubting myself, or like maybe I should read on this, like my soul, my intuition says you don't need to read. You don't need to like seek any of that
Mm.
out. Meditate and the answers will be provided to you. And every time, every time it's just
Wow.
I can't explain. I mean, it's like amazing. And and I'm just, just doing readings, helps me build on that mediumship, because
Mm.
more times than not, they just show up. And so do you know what I mean? Like I don't ignore it. I just
Mhm.
start talking, and that builds on that. The more practice I get, the more that I do, the more that I use, my inner vision, and follow my heart and be authentic in who I am. I'm gifted over and over, and then I can gift over and over, and then sit and receive too. Um,
Mm. Wow.
it's
It sounds
amazing.
like a process of developing your own faith in your intuitive abilities,
Right.
right? You had to learn to trust your own abilities. That you mentioned that, you know, you at one point were like, I can't say that. People are going to think I'm crazy.
Hmm.
You know, I also really that really resonates with me as well. When I'm doing mental health therapy with people, I'll have some knowing, like a little raindrop drop into my mind, and
Hmm.
a lot of the times I'm like, okay, it's the oddest feeling because I know it's not my thought. And then I have had to have faith and learn to trust that if it does pop into my mind, it comes from someplace else and I meant to speak it. So I
Hmm.
speak it whether, like, without concern about how I sound. I just kind
Right.
of preface it with, I just received this, you're meant to hear it, and here it is. So that's beautiful. I'm so excited for you. You did mention that you had a hypnotherapy experience with me. We have to break for another commercial, but when we come back, I'd love for you to share that what issues you were having, what suffering you were having in that process that you and I engaged in with the hypnotherapy. So we're going to take a brief commercial break. We are here with the beautiful Katie Howard. You're watching Talks with Tracy. I'm your host, Tracy Claremont, coming to you live on Bold Brave Television Network. We will see you in a couple minutes.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality? But it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating. Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like, it was almost instant. Like, I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Talks with Tracy. I'm your host, Tracy Claremont, and we are live on the Bold Brave Television Network today with Katie Howard. I have to say, I have been having so much fun talking with Katie today. Now, we did kind of get into that getting naked a little bit, and I'd just like to go a little deeper with that, Katie, on this segment. And you did mention that you had a hypnotherapy session with me at some point. And if we could just back up a little bit and you could talk about what was happening at that time in your life and some of the maybe the symptoms you were feeling, or how, like, what you actually looked like in that moment before you reached out to do the hypnotherapy. Can you kind of start there with us and do a little sharing and get a little vulnerable?
Sure. So like I said earlier, I had moved back from Seattle. And at that point, just really started focusing on my healing. Like, I just couldn't get away from it. I was so magnetic, that it just kind of spun me into this, I don't even know the word, but I just had to keep moving forward. And as I moved forward and realized, like, I have all this education and all this training and I'm an expert in all these fields.
Mm-hmm.
But is that really, like, there's more and I'm going to find it. And so just going through that process of exploring myself and not even know how I'm healing myself, sobbing, crying, not getting out of bed for days, sick to my stomach. Just my kids would want to go to, the Jocko or go to the lake or do something. And I just couldn't do it. I was a mess, just a complete mess. So I started, journaling and meditating more and doing things that I was told in my meditations and stuff. And I still couldn't get past this block. Like, there was something holding me back. And during that time when I was being held back, I literally felt dead inside. Like I stripped my entire ego. Everything that I thought that I wanted, I didn't. It wasn't my calling, truly, deeply my calling. Um, and I couldn't, I mean, I spent like 7 days in the worst pain of my life, physically painful, emotionally painful. My heart, I mean, I just felt so hollow, like this empty skeleton that had nothing. My family was worried about me. My kids were concerned. I wanted to die. It was that painful. And I couldn't figure out, why am I hurting so bad? Why does my heart hurt so bad? And then we connected, and I had that hypnotherapy session with you, which was about 3 hours. Um, and during that hypno session, I was taken, back to when I was 6, which was the very core of my entire life of not feeling good enough, not worthy enough. You're not worthy enough to be loved and rescued at all, which makes sense in my mind because I'm a perfectionist. I'm going to go over and beyond every time, just so that I can get that external that I was looking for, when all along it was inside of me.
Right. So in the hypnotherapy, we regressed you back to scenes that had all to do with the very core, originating experiences of the emotion that you are now feeling that was now causing your suffering. You
Yep.
went back to those very originating experiences, and that's what hypnotherapy does. You bring up an emotion or an issue that you are there to transform, and then through a deep state of relaxation that's achieved through induction, you go back to scenes that have all to do with that. And can you share with us the scene that you surprisingly went back to, or you had not anticipated? This is a great thing about hypnotherapy, right? We can think in our conscious minds that we have dealt with things and
Mhm.
that it doesn't affect us anymore. And then in hypnotherapy, our beautiful subconscious mind just brings the scene forward that has all to do with the issue, and it can be surprising what comes forward sometimes. And I believe it was surprising for you. So can you share about the scene, if you would?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I thought I had healed from this. Like I just kind of, whatever. But once I was, back to being age 6, um,
Mm,
I remember, I'm going to get really vulnerable right now. But
thank
I
you.
remember laying on the bed, and I was 6. I had just gotten off the school bus. Um, and there was this person that I had no connection with at the house. And the other person that was there, I had a connection with. It was a family member. I was brought downstairs to a bed, where they both stood over me. And I will just say that there was a yardstick involved. Um,
Mm,
and once you took me there, I
mm,
was, I was just like, that's it. This is it. Oh my God, it's impacted me for 40 years, like
mm. This abuse
mind blowing.
situation.
Yeah. I mean, it was
Mm,
just, and once I got there, and then you walked me through, my inner child, and being able to rescue myself, and take
mhm.
her out of that room and hold her and love her, and save her, um, completely blew my consciousness completely open after that session. There was no
Wow.
block anymore, and I was on the other side. Like when you go through a spiritual awakening, it's just like you're you're fighting constantly. It's like survival of the fittest, like a lot of people just drop off because it hurts, it's
Mm,
painful. But once you're over
mhm.
that hump, it's colors are brighter, clouds are
Mm.
fuller, I can hear better, I love even more. I never thought I could love more. Um,
Oh,
that would have never happened if
beautiful.
I did not have that session. That was profound and a life-changing moment for me, that
Oh, wow.
just I can't explain the amount of healing that occurred in one session. It was like 50 therapy sessions in 3 hours. It just, I was done.
So now, with that statement, like 50 therapy sessions in 3 hours, and I do want to just say I'm so thankful to have been any kind of part in guiding any kind of healing for you. It fills me up as well, and I appreciate you having me guide you. When you say it's like 50 therapy sessions in one hypnotherapy session, I think that really gets at, and I'm a mental health therapist. I provide mental health therapy. So I'm not knocking it at all. I still do it. But what you're really talking about is getting past the conscious mind and getting into the subconscious mind. And when you can do that, the subconscious mind will bring it forward. You don't have to, in your conscious mind, bring it forward. So you can think, I have dealt with this. Yeah, it happened, but that was in my past. And really not know how much it is impacting you in your daily living and your quality of life, because you're still functioning out of that emotion from that
Right.
experience. And that's what was happening with you. Another really interesting thing about that hypnotherapy session was we did dialogue with the herder. And if you don't mind my sharing, the herder actually turned out to not be the person who had abused you, who had perpetrated the abuse, but your herder turned out to be the relative, the person that you were close to, who did not stand up and protect you in that moment, right? And that was what brought forth those beliefs that you had been moving through your lifetime with, of you're not
Right.
worthy of protection. This person didn't protect you, so therefore you're not deserving, you're less than. All of these really, really um, misguided beliefs that you held within your subconscious mind that limited your potential, right? I mean, you were
Yeah.
successful, you did great things in social work, but also you were held back in a lot of ways by
Mhm.
your lack of confidence and lack of belief in yourself. And I don't, I will just say this, not saying it about you, but a lot of times people find themselves in relationships that are do not serve them at all, and
Mhm.
could be there's all these different really difficult life circumstances that come from these kind of things. So yeah, I remember the healing and the beautiful part of you going to 6-year-old Katie as adult Katie and rescuing her, bringing her out of that, and then holding her to your heart and giving her everything that 6-year-old Katie was needing in that moment. You were able to bring to her and give to her. Yeah.
Yeah. Such a profound, life changing experience for me, moment for me.
Mm.
Because once that occurred, um, all the dead feelings, all the hollowness, it was just gone. Like I couldn't even hardly remember feeling that way, and I just felt that way yesterday. You know what I mean? Like it
Wow.
was just lifted. Um,
Mm.
and after that happened, I had a Kundalini awakening. I had, and people,
Can you
I
say
had,
can you say that again?
it's a,
Kandalia?
yeah, Kundalini awakening.
Kundalini
Yeah. And
awakening?
so
What is that?
it has to do with the energy and the chakras that come up from, the bottom of your spine and go up. It's the energy that activates your inner medicine. You're able to do the psychic mediumship like I do. I
Oh, that's so
when I'm
awesome.
when I'm visiting with somebody, or you know, um, or like when I'm able to, yes, visit with somebody, I can get into their vision. So not only am I seeing my vision, but I can see that person's vision and what they're going through and what they need from their guides to
So,
progress forward.
would you be willing to give some examples of that in our next segment? We have to go to a
Yeah,
commercial real quick,
yeah.
but I'd love to hear some examples of you kind of in action And we can do that on our next segment. So again, you're watching Talks with Tracy, coming to you live on the Bold Brave Television Network. We're going to do a brief commercial break, and please join us again after the break. Do a little self-care out there, and we'll do the same. Thank you.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. You're watching Talks with Tracy on Bold Brave Television Network. I have my beautiful guest, Katie Howard, and we're already on our last segment. This has gone so fast. I have really enjoyed talking to you, Katie. Now, I do want to mention that you also did some incredible healing on me. We did Reiki sessions, and this was a time in my life where it was after I had already developed my diabetes. You know, I have to wonder if maybe had I been doing Reiki sessions and focusing more on my body and the energy in my body and keeping the energy flowing in my body, I have to wonder if, this diabetes that was in my DNA, this disease, I have to wonder if it would have even come to fruition had I not created such a toxic internal stress environment within myself. And, Reiki is a way to regulate your internal process and all your energies. And I'll never know, of course, but maybe I wouldn't even develop diabetes had I been doing Reiki and focusing more on my physical, energetic, internal process. So you did do Reiki with me, and it was wonderful. It really was helpful to again get the energy throughout my body moving. And I tend to cry when I'm having a Reiki session, and I'm guessing that might be a pretty common thing because you're releasing emotion that's stuck in your body, and it comes out, and it's such a great release, and it's so important to get it out of your body, right? Because when emotion is stuck in your body, that's when all these illnesses happen, right? And Reiki is a great way of preventing, in my mind, my opinion, preventing those illnesses. So you helped me with that, and I distinctly remember two things about one of our Reiki sessions where you were actually connecting with my spirit guide, only you and I were still a little unclear about what was happening. and you were seeing a woman who was spinning in a field, and you're so funny. You just kind of say what's on your mind, and I love that about you. And you were like, "There's some lady spinning in a field," and you're like, "I don't know, are you supposed to go spin in a field or something?" And I'm like, "Okay, I will meditate on that and try to figure that out." But one of the other things that you did was so great when you were doing my healing. You actually discovered a block of my energy that was in my body that I had no knowledge of. And when I went to my doctor and I said, I wanted this area of my body checked out, there was actually a mass in my body right where you had sensed it and sensed the blockage. Now, thankfully, it turned out to be just like a fatty mass that was not concerning to the doctors. They do keep an eye on it, but it wasn't anything horrible, thankfully. But it amazed me that in that Reiki session, you saw that or sensed it. I don't really know what words to use.
Yeah, it I just know. I just feel it. I don't know what else to like how to explain it. But the energy just brings me right to where it needs to be healed. And then I just can't move forward until I'm able to like receive the messages. I can see medical stuff going on. Um,
Mm.
like I said, there's just really no limit on anything that I can do to help people co-heal. Um,
So in the last couple minutes, can you tell a story like that of somebody else that you've worked on?
yeah, so I did a Reiki session on a woman, and she was going through a really really hard time. And once I started doing the session, I started getting these. I mean, it was like instantly all these messages were coming in. I focused a lot on her heart, and I was told she has heart issues. Be gentle with her heart. Like, don't pull energy from there. Be gentle. And so I
Mm,
did that. And after we were all done, I do a feedback session and we sit down and we talk. And I told her, I was drawn to your heart. I feel like you have a really weak heart, blah, blah. And she just started crying. She was like, I just
mm,
got out of the hospital yesterday because I have a weak heart. And so it was just more healing that and guidance and clarification on her end about what is going on medically with her. And then
mhm.
also just trusting that those messages, to just relay exactly what
Oh,
they're telling me
absolutely.
to. Yeah. So it's pretty
Wow, that
profound.
is amazing. It is profound and it's very healing and just incredible. And again, getting all of those chakras balanced
Balance.
and
Yeah.
the energy flowing is so very important. So now, can you do Reiki over Zoom or do you have to be in person for the healing that you do?
Nope. You can do it over distance. I've done it with people in California, Wyoming, Florida. It doesn't matter. I've done it with
Wow.
people in Sweden. And I don't have business cards. It's word of mouth, which is pretty amazing because I'll just get people, you know, book a session and it's done. So,
Nice.
I
So
mean,
can
it's
you
just,
share with us how people would get into contact with you? We're almost to the end of our show, but I'd love for people to know how they can contact you.
sure. So I have a Facebook page and it's called Intuitive Soul Speaker. And then my
Mm.
regular Facebook page is under Kate Howard. But you can reach out that way. Or my phone number is on my Facebook page, Intuitive Soul Speaker. Um, they can reach out to you and you can give me the information. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah, awesome. Thank
whatever
you.
works. Yeah.
That is amazing. Well, thank you
Thank you.
so very much
Thank
for
you.
joining us today. This has been so much fun, and I really hope that you can come back and join us again. So,
Absolutely.
also, people out there, thank you so much. If you'd like to get a hold of me, I can be reached on my email, hypnowithtracy@yahoo.com. If you'd like to get a hold of me for hypnotherapy or life coaching or whatever you'd like, I'd love to hear from you. Now, I do want to talk about next week. Next Thursday, we will be having Shirley Mitchell on our show, and she describes herself as a spiritual adventurer, a songstress, a master hand analyst, and healer. I'm so excited to have her. I've experienced her, and she absolutely is all of those things. So that is next week. I hope everybody's enjoyed the show, and I hope everybody will tune in next week to talk with Shira Lee. So this has been Talks with Tracy. I'm your host, Tracy Claremont, coming to you live on Bold Brave Television Network. Thank you so much, Katie, for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next week.
This has been Talks with Tracy. Join us each week as Tracy and her guests will come together and realize that underneath it all, we are all the same and never alone. So join us each week and let Talks with Tracy be your safe place to land.